I would say that go for your love and your dreams.
So as long as you have the right company, you should not worry about the route.
He has the right company, so
I love that. As long as you have the right company, you shouldn't worry about your route. Welcome to International Love Story, the podcast about intercultural relationships. In today's podcast episode, I would like to welcome Karina, Russian from Uzbekistan, and Hasnain, who's from Pakistan. They're both sitting in Pakistan right now. It's 3:15 a.m. and it's just so crazy that they stayed awake / took a little siesta before recording this podcast episode with me. I really appreciate their time and that we get together, that they're going to share their love story. And I can't wait to learn more about them. I know the one or the other information, so Karina shared a few things with me beforehand already. But as always, most of the story will be a surprise for me as well. And yeah, with this being said, let's give a warm welcome to Karina and Hasnain. Thank you so much for being here today. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? Tell us all about you.
Thank you. Should I start?
sure.
Okay. So hello everyone who is watching, and this is Hasnain. I'm currently living in Karachi, Pakistan, which is right in the south of the country, and I'm working here in an oil and gas company. I'm a petroleum engineer by background. So yeah, life is good, and we recently got married. You can say like 5 months ago, back in October. So things have been good so far, and yeah, you would like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Karina, and as you introduced before, I'm Russian from Uzbekistan, and currently I'm also living in Pakistan. So since October, since we basically got married, and I had to shift to Karachi. So yeah.
So you got married in Pakistan, as far as I remember, around 5 months ago, quite recently. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So if we go back in time a little bit, how did it start? How did it feel like? How did you connect? Basically, how was the first time you guys met each other?
So yeah, so basically all of it started back in 2021. It was the era when we were about to recover from COVID, and I was badly wanting to visit some place, and all the places shut their doors on me that because of this quarantine and these vaccinations. So Uzbekistan was one of the places back in 2021 where I could travel freely. There wasn't so many problems. I have been traveling solo for a lot of years now, and I have been very passionate about that as well. So I was in Uzbekistan on a solo trip basically, and I was just in a taxi driving past all these beautiful buildings, and somewhere down the road I saw this cathedral, the Sacred Heart of something, which is one of the famous places in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. And as I passed through that place, I was checking my list, and I was stopping the taxi driver that, can you please stop me here? So out of nowhere, I ended up in this place called a historic place like Cathedral. There I was doing some photography, meeting some new people, and the sort of attire I was in, it was like a pouch on the side, maps in the hand. So it feels like everybody can see that there's a tourist and we should go and talk to him. So this is how I ended up in that place. And would you like to have an entry
Yeah,
here?
and it was a very simple day for me, just typical routine. I was in my bachelor's and I was having my class. So, and just out of nowhere, my class got delayed. And I was like, I have the whole evening free. What to do? Let's just go out. So the plan came very like, again, out of nowhere. So I also took a taxi. I called my brother and I said, I'm coming to that place. So let's meet near that cathedral, where he was actually enjoying his time. This is how we just ended up meeting. I saw a tourist, and back then I was basically a student. I was learning English language. And I would never miss a chance to practice my language skills because back then it was very hard for me to speak English. And whenever I would see a tourist, I would just come and start speaking. And the same happened with him. So I realized there was a man, he's for sure not from here. So let's come and talk. And that is how it all started.
Yeah, and it was a quick, good, we can say half an hour conversation, very casual, starting from how are things in Pakistan and how's Afghanistan and what brought me there and what places I have visited so far. So actually, it was a quick catch up, I think, and then we were like off to our own ways. Obviously, we got connected on Instagram and stuff, but yeah, it was a good icebreaker, you can say, that happened like out of nowhere. It wasn't planned. The place wasn't planned. The time wasn't planned. But anyway, we met
We
there.
met.
We met there for the first time, and this was actually my second last day in Tashkent because I was due to fly 2 days later. So I was pretty much summing up my trip by now, and this is when I met her. And actually, this should have been the start of the trip, but unfortunately, I was about to leave. So the only time we could meet for the second time was the next day, where I was free by the evening time. I had other commitments also as well. So we decided to meet the next day somewhere in the Broadway area to have a quick walk, chit chat. So yeah, it was a good second meeting. That was last meeting of that trip, I would say.
And the next morning, he had a flight back to Pakistan.
So you basically did not
So
have so much time to get to know each other in person. You stayed connected via social media, as far as I understand. It's just like also, Karina, very brave that you've approached Hasnain and you wanted to, yeah, improve your English skills, because I know how it is to learn a new language, and I'm a little bit shy because I'm learning Spanish right now, and for me it's just not very natural, or it doesn't come very natural to just approach people. I am super shy when it comes to this. And you were just like, okay, that's my chance to speak English. Let's just do it. Let's talk to this guy. He looks like he's not from here. And I would also love to know, Hasnain, because as far as I understand, you've never been to Uzbekistan before. Was it your first time? And if so, how did you feel? Because it sounds like everyone is super, super welcoming and people are, yeah, very warm and very curious as well. This is what I understand from what you're sharing right now.
yeah, no, that's actually true. And the good part is that it was never part of the plan. So I ended up in Uzbekistan without planning to. And when I went there, what I realized that people are actually very warm. I found them very welcoming. The food taste, this food culture is like so very strong. The places are so good. It's very safe. Obviously, if I compare it with other places that I visited and compared to Pakistan as well, it's like quite safe in the night and all that. So overall, I found the place like very welcoming. For some reason, Uzbekistan has not been like very famous, or these Central Asian states are not very famous with the travel. And I was actually amazed at why it is the case. It should be on the high travel sites. It should be as popular as Europe, right? But yeah, but it's not been like very popular, but it's actually a place worth going. And that is the very reason why I mentioned earlier that whenever anybody saw that there's this tourist coming in, so they were like curious and they were like, oh, he's here to visit our country. He's here to look at our country, which is not very much expected in at least back in 2021. Now things have been a lot more since then. A lot of people have been posting about their trips, including myself. I posted thousands of stories on Instagram from there. So now it's more popular than ever before. It used to be before. But yeah, overall, the place was good. The people were excellent. The food was great. And then obviously, when you get to meet your life partner somewhere down the road in a strange, unknown country, so things start becoming, very special automatically for you. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great experience overall, and I really enjoyed that trip. And actually, that was my first unplanned trip to Uzbekistan. You're right.
And I'm sure you've traveled afterwards again, but this is something we're going to cover later on. I'm curious to learn obviously more about your story. So you guys connected, you stayed in contact via social media. What happened afterwards, Karina?
So basically, the next day when he was having his flight, we were already sending messages on WhatsApp and Instagram. So I knew what's going on with him. He knew what's going on with me. And honestly speaking, for some reason, we had from this 2 days such a, connection, you can say, that the day when he had his flight, both of us were feeling very sad.
That's true.
So it was like out of nowhere, like we were both strangers, but the next morning I woke him up, I called him and I said, you're having a flight, so wake up. Yeah, so it's just that we had this distance relationship, you can say, but I would not say relationship, it was distance friendship. So we were like still getting to know each other better, even though we were in two different countries. So we were video calling, we were sharing stories, and again, we were just getting to know each other better.
And when was the moment you realized, okay, this is a little bit more than a friendship? So you met in 2021. What moment do you
Yeah, this
declare as
was,
your
I believe,
date?
last quarter of. I might not be able to recall the exact month or day, but I believe that after we started talking, this was actually September when I came back from Uzbekistan, September 2021, I'm talking about. So maybe you can say like a few months later, maybe 4 or 5 months, 3, 4 months, something around that timeline. So yeah, we were consistent talking those days, and
Yeah.
be it a video call, be it a normal text message. And obviously, when you are not in the same country. Oh, by the way, luckily we had the same time zone, which was one of the greatest blessings. So we never had to wait for another person to wake up. So this was in itself an a hidden advantage that we enjoyed. But yeah, when it comes to actually talking from distance, there are certain challenges, and you do get it becomes hard to express sometimes. So yeah, I mean, anyway, we were keeping up very well with that, and we were being consistent. It's not like we were talking every hour of the day, but we were consistent with each other, and we were talking and about the very basic things on in your day, what's happening there, what's happening here, and this is how it started. And yeah.
The rest is history, more or less. So, but like having a long distance relationship, first of all, between Uzbekistan and Pakistan, so there's no time difference, but how many kilometers are separating those two countries?
That's quite a technical question. I might have to Google this, but if I talk from, you can say, the geographical point of view, the only country which separates Pakistan and Uzbekistan is Afghanistan, because we are somewhere here and Uzbekistan is up north, you see. So if you talk about direct flights, we are just 2.5 hours away. You won't believe it. But for some reason, this direct flight was not the option in the
But
last.
there are no direct flights, so which makes you feel that there is a bigger difference in distance. But yeah, it's not that far as we
Yeah.
used to think.
Yeah, a couple of hundred or 1,000 kilometers. So yeah, but not very much by flight if a direct flight is available. But otherwise, it actually becomes like a long route. You have to go all the way to Dubai or Istanbul and go back all the way. So yeah.
That's very interesting. I wasn't aware of it that there, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but then it doesn't. Also, I'm trying to understand Uzbekistan and Pakistan culture-wise. Like the countries are quite different, right? Like what are the similarities and what are the differences?
So basically, yes, you're right. It's like completely two different worlds. The reason is that Uzbekistan is like a multinational country. We have over 130 nationalities, and mostly you can say obviously local people are Uzbek, but there are a lot of Russians, obviously because of the history of all the Soviet Union and everything. So the thing is that it's a mixture. Because I come from a Russian family, I have a little bit of different, you can say, upbringing. I have a different way of dressing up. So if we talk about Pakistan, it's a little bit different in a way that it's like a totally Islamic country. But again, the common things I would say are that we have a lot of values which are similar. Like we do respect and appreciate our family members, any elderly person. So we are trying to always support and be kind to each other. So these are the similarities, and obviously differences are, I would say, because I come from a Russian family where it's not a problem to wear something sleeveless or as a short skirt, but here it's obviously different and I had to adjust to it. So, and again, it's not like that strict that I would put on full proper hijab or anything. It's just that I have to follow proper norms, so which are, should be followed when you're in another country, I believe. It's just like that.
It's a matter of
Yeah.
respect as well. It's respecting that this is a different country, it has a different culture, and then yeah, I totally understand. I totally get where that is coming from. Just interesting to hear that both countries I mean, at least it sounds like they're very, very different. But then the values, the core values are very similar, as you've mentioned, when it comes to family, friendships, like the people in general, that you do have so much in common. So it really makes me think like the conversations you guys had. I mean, it started as a friendship, and then I'm sure you had some in-depth conversations. What would it be that especially like made you realize that you're really drawn to one another, so that there is a little bit more than just a friendship? As far as I understand, there wasn't this moment, but I'm sure you had some in-depth conversations as well. So I'm wondering, for everyone who's listening and watching right now, to get an idea on how your conversations were, like what topics would you talk about, that you realized, hey, actually, I think I'm starting to build feelings for the other person.
So actually, if I speak like for myself, and obviously I assume that he has the same thing in his mind. What happened was that after the few days of our meetings, we obviously were feeling that there is something special about each other. And it's just that during all the time since we were staying in touch and talking, we knew inside that it's not just friendship. But what happened was that if I speak for myself, I would never believe that I'm able to marry a person from Pakistan and he is not able to marry a Russian from Uzbekistan. For many reasons. We were having this again cultural difference, language difference, religion. So keeping this all in mind was, I think, making us not let us even imagine that it's possible for us to get married. So it was like we were having feelings, we knew that, but we didn't speak about that. And it's just that what we were talking about, he was sharing everything about culture here, about religion, about how he wants his wife to be, and overall his relationship in marriage. And I was doing the same. And in the end, we found out that we have a lot in common. So what he is looking for in life is pretty much the same what I was looking for. And I think obviously there were some differences and we had to compromise. So, but it happens that after realizing that we're not as different as it seemed to be, I think we told each other the truth that I'm in love with you and you're in love with me. So what's next? Like, what can we do next about it? So, yeah.
Exactly. And I believe I remember the times when we used to have these discussions. So I think all of it started like very much unplanned. What we knew that we love talking to each other and things are going good, right? But if we used to think about anything serious in the future, it used to look like a no-brainer, and we used to be like, no, I mean, it cannot happen because it has like too much on the plate. I mean, you have to make so many changes to make it happen. So at first, it appeared to both of us that it might not be a something to even consider, right? But when we started talking, so somehow you converge to a single point where you are trying to find all the commonalities, right? Whenever it comes to differences, there are always a few critical things and a few unimportant things. So I think we were very good in identifying those critical areas which cannot be compromised on, be it from her side, be it from my side. All the others were like kind of like extras which you should not worry a lot about. So I think the most important or critical things were only two or three, that if they were resolved, all the other things can be molded or shaped up accordingly. They were not actually such a big dinosaur to worry about, so I think we actually, in the very initial, we agreed on those two three critical areas, and that helped us to shape the conversations that were taking place, and everything was converging in line then. And obviously we had our own point of views on things, but somehow we had to some she made a lot of compromises at a lot of places. So yeah, I mean, that is how it basically started.
What are your expectations in your partner and in the future? Like, what are your values that you aligned on?
Okay, so if I talk about values, basically, okay, the good thing about Pakistan and Uzbekistan is when it comes to the family values or when it comes to the living settings. Okay, I believe that Pakistani society is a more family oriented or a more conservative side of things comparatively. But after talking to her and the way she appreciates her elders and her family members, I actually didn't feel we are very different. There's like a lot of striking similarity in the way we deal, the way we think about our relatives or parents or grandparents. So that was the first thing that clicked me very much, because we have to be practical when you start living together, for example. And I was a person who was actually planning to live with my parents in the same house, right? So whenever I was thinking about a life partner, for example, so yes, my top priority was that I'm marrying a person. So blah blah blah. This should be the things which I should be looking for, and it should be good for me. I should be good for. But other than that, you have to live anyway in that setting together, right? You have to deal with things. You cannot ignore the environment totally. So while all those discussions were happening, I knew what I wanted, right? And I knew what can be a good match for that. So it appeared very well out, especially this family values, I would say. And yeah, and that's pretty much the thing. Our personal alignment with each other, the most important thing, was going well. Number two, this family alignment, they were like going well. One of the major things which started with like a challenge, but thanks to her that she had to compromise on that happily, I believe, was the relocation part, because I could have moved to Uzbekistan as well. And the other option was she moves to Pakistan. So who moves? This was quite a conversation back then, and we had to discuss it through pros and cons of both the options. So yeah, in the end, it was decided that she'll be relocating to Pakistan, and definitely she'll be visiting back her family and friends time to time throughout the year. That's not a problem at all. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the things which were like quite aligned. Yeah.
So you've mentioned a great point, Hasnain, that, and it sounds like, and I'm sure you really appreciate that Karina made the big move to go to Pakistan, because it seems like it was a point you negotiated over for quite some time. Where or how did you get where you are nowadays? So if we go again a little bit back in time, September 2021, you met, and then approximately 5 months later, you were officially dating. And what was next for you guys? What happened in between those years?
So again, basically, like we were in the process of discussing things, right? So after understanding that we are in love, and it's either that we're serious about each other or we are not doing going for it like at all. So obviously we were discussing different things such as relocation, lifestyle, how are we going to make it work. And the thing is that obviously he announced that to his family that there is a Russian and we are kind of in love. So the problem was that we were having concerns about basically if I'm able to live here. Because again, this cultural shock which comes or homesickness. So different people, different language, all these different things, it may affect our relationship. So, and the thing which we decided was that I come here and I live here for 2 weeks, let's say, and I see how things are working here. And then we decide whether we should proceed or not. So we were actually being quite practical because that was a very serious decision in our life, like getting married. So I think after 1 year in 2022, I came to Pakistan for 10 days. I saw how I met his family members, I met his parents, I saw how lovely and friendly they are. He took me outside, he showed me all the good sides and bad sides of the city. And again, after being here for 2 weeks, then I went back to Uzbekistan. And obviously, with I was observing everything, I was analyzing, and when I went back to Uzbekistan, we were already deciding that yeah, like it's possible for me, and we were thinking what is again the next stage. So, and then again, we were distance relationship, we were talking, we were discussing things, we were planning what to do next, because the next stage was me talking to my family and announcing that I want to marry a Pakistani man and relocate to Pakistan, which was a very hard thing, obviously. So, yeah.
Yeah, and to reach that level, obviously we had to agree to each other first, right? So all it started with whether she likes the country, whether does she think that she would be able to manage here, and that was the primary purpose of her visit. And based on her experience here, and I tried my best to tell her all the bad things first, because if she can accept the bad of a place, she can definitely accept the good of a place. So I had, this was the time of my life where I had to be actually very honest. Here I cannot be very cheesy. I cannot be, deceiving. I had to be very practical, because based on her those 2 weeks experience, she had to take a decision, because wasn't very easy for her to come again and again or live here for extended periods. She was having her university and other commitments. So yeah, I mean, based on her visit, somehow there was this agreement that yeah, she likes the place. Yeah, there are certain things which she might not like very much or appreciate a lot, but somehow they were manageable, they were bearable, and we had a solution for them, or we had a better way of looking at them from a different perspective. So overall, there was an alignment that we should proceed forward, because once she had to tell to her family, before that it was important that we both agree that we have to marry and we have to start living together. Because when you are taking something to your family, you should be sure yourself. And this is exactly what I did, but just a bit earlier. When I mentioned to my parents first, I had to do all these discussions first to confirm and to show, first have surety myself that is it something I can pursue or not? Because I know the sort of questions or challenges that can come to me from my parents or my family, right? So I had all those conversations. I aligned my parents. She went with the visit, and accordingly, this proceeded. So the last thing, or the last stage of this entire process, was she talking to her elders and taking their approval, taking their, their agreement on that. And we're happy that it happened, not in a very hard manner, but yeah, it took some of time. So that was actually the last stage. So, yeah.
How did your family react when you told them that, yeah, you would like to marry and move to Pakistan?
Well, obviously not happily. They were not excited to hear that I'm in love with a guy who is not from my country. Because I think for every family, it's very difficult to accept that your daughter, your granddaughter, your sister is going to go to another country. And again, there will be this distance between you. So basically, they were not happy. And my grandfather was not talking to me properly, like for a week or so. And they were trying to tell me that think about it again, because you cannot change it afterwards. That's just a decision which you are taking once. And yeah, so again, to remove their doubts, because what happened was that they've never seen him. So they had no idea who am I going to marry, where am I actually going, and who is this prince who was so much sure that he and we both want to marry. So what happens that we decided that then the next stage is that he comes to Uzbekistan and he meets my family. And I believe after meeting him, they realize that he is not such a bad guy. He is very loving and caring. We video called with his parents. So it was quite a good meeting, I would say. And then obviously they had no other option, but they understood me. And the thing which I really appreciate about my family is that even if they were not very much happy, but they let me choose myself and they were supporting me. Even I know that it's also hard for them to adjust that we are living separately and everything, but they never stopped me and they gave me the right to choose, and again they supported me in whatever my choice was.
And I'm sure, like, as you've mentioned, after they met Husnain, they realized he will take care of you.
Yeah.
And that this is your final decision, that this is what you want. And as you've mentioned, they're very supportive. But still, like 2022, you guys, yeah, basically moved direction. Let's get married. You, Karina, you made the decision of moving to Pakistan. But as far as I understand, it still took some time for you to move, right? Did you finish your studies in Uzbekistan first and then you moved to Pakistan? Or what was the reason that it took quite some time?
The thing was that I was still a student. I was in my bachelor's, and my family was also a little bit conservative. So they were not ready to talk about my marriage before I basically graduate. And I was not taking that step to announce to them that I'm planning to marry a guy before I complete my studies, because it would mean that it's a double no. first of all, you are not graduated, and secondly, it's like you're marrying another nationality man. So I was just finding it right to wait for some time. And after I came from Pakistan, I did not announce it immediately. So again, it took us 1 more year, I believe, of again talking, being on distance relationship. And it's the year of my graduation. Was it 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like 6 months before I graduated, I finally told my family that that is a thing and this is how it's happening. And as a reply, I got like, wait till you firstly graduate and then we will talk about it. So it again took us extra time. So once I graduated, then I came to this topic that again, there is my marriage like coming and there is a man who is waiting, so we have to finalize whether I'm getting your permission or it's gonna be complicated. So again, that's why it took us extra time.
May I ask one? I'm not sure if this question is too sensitive. You don't have to answer it, obviously. But what would have happened if one or neither of your family would have agreed? What would have happened if just one family part would have agreed? What is culture-wise the expectations behind a marriage?
Well, so basically, I was raised with my grandparents, and they've given everything to raise me. So even if it were my parents or grandparents, I don't think it would make a big difference. So when there are people who, do so much for you, for your upbringing, for your happiness, I would also want them to be happy. Like whatever I do in my life, I would want that I don't give someone, this pain or unhappiness. So if that happened, if that was the case, obviously I would have tried again. I would have asked him to come again to Uzbekistan or spend few months with my family, So I would be trying to convince, but in the worst case scenario, if any of them would have not agreed, then we would not be able to marry. Because again, both of us really appreciate and value our family. And we want happiness, not only our happiness, but happiness of our families as well. And again, this is where we align. So we just did our best to make sure that we are marrying and we are happy and our families are happy as well. So it took us time, and luckily and happily, they were all convinced. So, yeah.
But I understand that you've been talking about it like, what if? What if my family is not approving? What if your family is not approving? What are the next steps? And is there a future for us on the long run? And obviously there is, because as you've mentioned right in the beginning, you got married 5 months ago. Congratulations again. And I'm obviously very curious how it was. How was your big day? How is a wedding in Pakistan? What are the expectations? What were the customs in general, the traditions? How did you celebrate your big day?
So I think I have to speak for it more. Basically, because I'm like coming from another culture, and weddings there, it's like in my culture is one event. We gather all people, we celebrate, all happy. But when I came here, I actually realized how crazy these people are. They have so many events and they are happily doing everything. They are just searching for a chance to celebrate something. So it was also quite tough for me, but it was so interesting that people were gathering, they were dressing up in such a very beautiful way. They were playing or singing songs. Basically, we had how many functions? Five, six?
Yeah, in our case, like three big functions were there, in addition to like small ones at home in a home setting, right? So yeah, in total there is a series of events in the Pakistani culture, or you can say subcontinental culture in general. Weddings is something big, it's not something which we can sum up in one event. It has to be for going for weeks or something, it has it's like a crazy thing here. Like wedding is a very big thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's what she's mentioning about that. People coming in, going out, people staying over, by the way, at your house. You know, you accommodate a lot of relatives to your house.
Not sleeping at night,
Yeah,
talking,
late night
laughing,
sittings, having
singing, dancing, and that is amazing.
having those cups of tea in the night and staying up late, sleep deprived, but still, you know, getting up with the pace. So yeah, it's tough, it's noisy, it's disturbing, but also it's enjoyable, it's memorable, and once it ends, you look back and you feel good that it happened in that
Yeah.
way, in such a loud manner. You see, so it's a full process, it's a complete procedure you have to go through if you are getting married in Pakistan. So yeah, that was sort of
A surprise for me again because I just came here in October and we had to start all the preparations for wedding, which was taking us a lot of time and effort, doing all the shopping, getting all the dresses, thinking about what hairstyle, what makeup you will have, and then organizing everything. So it took us quite a lot of time. And even before I came here, the preparation was already going on without me being here because again it takes a lot of effort to prepare for a single wedding. So yeah.
you see, making all those bookings in advance, be it the makeup, photography, the venue, the food, the dresses, the tailoring of those dresses. So it's a long event management, it's a full event management opportunity to, you know. So yeah, we were in that process way before she was here. It started somewhere in, you can say, August to September, and it kept going on until the wedding happens in the early November. So yeah, it was a long 2 months process, I would say, at least. Yeah.
It's just interesting how, because obviously, like in Germany, we celebrate weddings quite differently, or in Europe in general. I mean, there's some countries, like for example, Italy, where it's just a huge family get together. In Germany, we have maybe 120 guests, and that's already a lot. Then you have Indian weddings where you have up to 600, 700 people, and then you're sharing your wedding right now. And I'm just like, so interesting to hear how different cultures are celebrating weddings. And also when you've just mentioned that it's, as I understand, like it's also an event where the neighborhood is coming together. So I guess you had the neighbors there as well. Like there are a lot of traditions involved. It's a whole process of several months, as far as I understand. But I'm curious, Karina, because you've shared already that it was a surprise for you. So you've arrived and then you were thrown into it and you were just like, okay, I'm here, I'm all in, just do whatever you want. I just celebrate. Or was there a way to be prepared for this?
Basically, obviously, again, because we were discussing everything related to us and our marriage. I did know that we would have a couple of events, but what I was asking him is that let's keep it as minimal as we can. So, which kind of happened, but that minimal ended up to be very much maximum for me. So, I knew that it's a long procedure. It's a couple of events which you have to go through, but I didn't know that it goes in such a way that there are a lot of people gathering and they're not sleeping, they're having fun all night. And so, yeah. So I knew, but again, I was not, you can say, I was not imagining that it could go to this level.
I'm just checking out your pictures on Instagram right now, by the way. And your dress looks so stunning. I'm not sure if you can see it if I hold it into the camera. So in
Yeah.
case for everyone who's watching, look at this dress.
Oh,
Here we go. It's so
yeah.
beautiful. You look like a
That
princess.
is
I mean,
actually another thing which he had to compromise because on the main function, which is main wedding for me and for them obviously. So a bride usually wears here red dress. And it was my dream to wear a white dress. Yeah, that was our engagement. And it was my dream to wear a white dress on my wedding. So we agreed that in all weddings which are happening as their cultural event, I will wear whatever they want me to. But on the main wedding day, I'm gonna wear this Western white dress. And I was very happy that my husband and his family were actually also excited about it. and everyone was saying that it is not common. Like, I think I was the only one wearing white dress in Pakistan, but everyone was happy seeing me like this, and everyone was again appreciating and saying how beautiful I look. So it was a very happy day for me.
So you were able to merge cultures on this event as well.
Yeah,
May I
and
ask, was your family able to join as well, Karina?
no, unfortunately, they could not come here. But again, I was video calling before the event. I was obviously showing them all the outlook and telling what's going on and what's going to happen. So I was really missing them very much. And there was a moment when I was feeling very emotional in all the events which were happening. But with my husband's support and his family as well, it went quite well.
Yeah, it's a big, big day. I mean, again, several days event from one to the other, no sleep, just celebrating. I mean, that sounds lovely and really like checking out your pictures. It's just, again, it's so, so different to anything I know. And I wish I would have been there because that looks like a huge party you had there.
Yeah.
So, what happened afterwards? Did you or were you able to stay in Pakistan directly after you got married? So, was that also the moment you officially moved to Pakistan, or did you go back home, sorted out a few things, and then moved?
Yeah, so basically we agreed that like we are getting married, but I would be visiting my family, and he kept his promise. So right after our wedding, we actually went on a honeymoon to Indonesia, Bali. We spent there, I think, 3 weeks.
You can see like 12 to 13 full days.
Yeah, like 2 weeks. And right after coming back, I went to Uzbekistan, where I spent another 2 weeks with my family and my friends. And after, again, recharging, getting all the love from them, I came back here in December. So, and since then, I'm here and I'm going to travel back to my home after 2 weeks. So that's why, like, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. So
So you
basically, she officially moved here back in October.
Yeah.
And then going through all these preparations for another month before getting married in November, followed by honeymoon, followed by all these things. So yeah, October was the month where she finally started this new journey in this new country.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How is your life right now, living together as a married couple in Pakistan? How does it feel like?
Yeah, it feels great. Life is good.
Because
Life is
you've
beautiful.
always lived in Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean, this is my side of the story. I understand that it has been, especially for her, been a bit tough, obviously. Relocating somewhere is like a very difficult choice to make, be it anywhere in the world, you know, and especially when the language is different, especially when the way you celebrate events is different, you know. So yeah, these basically all these challenges were quite understandable, and she has been really patient through these times, and it has been like a roller coaster, especially for her. Okay, for me, you can actually assume that life wasn't very hard. Yeah, I mean, I was part of the process. I was busy. I was also like very much, you know, engaged in all these things. But yeah, for from transitional point of view, it was really her struggle which was taking place for the last couple of months, I would say. So yeah, it's still ongoing, still in the transition phase. Day every passing day, she's getting more comfortable with the place and people and things, but still, it's a long way to go. It's not very easy to settle down so quick. And so yeah, we understand that it needs time, and she's having a time, and we really hope that things will go as
Yeah,
they are.
so basically, because it's been just a few months and we had, all this time with, again, wedding celebrations and everything, and then we were traveling abroad. So I would say that just since January, we actually are living kind of a normal life. Not mentioning that after our wedding, his sister wedding happened, and all the cycle of events and celebrations came again.
So it was double actually. The all the struggle and all this busy days and nights actually came back in January because
Yeah.
my sister got married somewhere in early Feb. So if we talk about a normal pace of life, that actually somehow started in somewhere in mid of Feb. So now we are in that phase where all the events have been done. And we are now kind of, sleeping
And
on
now real
carpet.
life has actually
Kicked in.
started.
Exactly.
And yeah, but again, it's just that now it's more or less peaceful, and I'm going through this, process of adjusting to the country, people, and everything, which is obviously stressful for me, especially when it comes to language. But again, because luckily my husband is very supportive, and we are just going through all of it together as a couple and as a family as well, because his parents are also very much supportive. And that's how we are trying to manage for now. But again, it's all in this transition, I would say, period. We're still in this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I know how it feels like. I've been there 2 times, first in Miami and now in Buenos Aires, even though if it's obviously very different to your experience, but it does take time. And I think what we shouldn't underestimate, like, yes, for the person who is moving abroad, it's most likely the bigger change, to be honest, but also for the person who is welcoming the partner, it's a lot of pressure as well because you want your partner to be happy. You only want the best for your partner, obviously. So it comes with a lot of responsibility, especially if you welcome someone to your own country, which is in your case, Pakistan. So I totally get both sides, especially emotional wise. And I understand that it's a process and it takes some time. And as long as you work as a team, which obviously is the case in your case, it will be fine. It just takes a couple of weeks to really adjust and to make sure that you can call another country your second home. But it's nice to hear that Hasnain, your family is very welcoming and that they take good care of Karina. And I'm sure that helps a lot throughout the whole process. Talking about this, what are your future plans, Karina? As I understand, you're gonna go back for a couple of days back home. And once you're back, do you have anything planned? How will your next month and years look like? Is it going to be Pakistan on the long run? What are your plans in general for the future?
So, yeah, I think it's gonna be Pakistan. It's just that obviously we do have some, again, after I come back, we do have plans for traveling and stuff like that. But the main our target is that, for me to adjust here in a way that I enroll in university. So I started my master's here. And again, with the purpose of not only getting education but also building this social circle which I can connect with. So as our future plan, I think it's just that we both try to do our best to make me feel good here, to make me feel like I'm home, to have people, to have friends. So that's how we are seeing our next months.
Yeah. So yeah, she just started this university thing, which will be going on for the next 1.5 years or so. We both love to travel, and definitely travel would always be the part of our life, especially before we have kids. So that's why we are kind of doing an active effort to travel as much as we can practically. And other than that, yeah, this settling thing would keep going on for weeks and months, and obviously it will take its own route. So yeah, nothing special planned other than that at the moment. Just looking forward to a beautiful life ahead, and yeah, that's pretty much it for now.
Thank you so, so much for giving a glimpse into your life, especially your cultural background. Again, I find it very interesting. And this is why I'm doing the podcast to connect with individuals from other countries. And I find it especially interesting to hear how they emerge cultures. Because I understand that, as mentioned at the beginning, there are some differences, but you also have so much in common. And despite the differences, you work on one goal. So you have the same goals, the same values, and you want to make it work on the long run. And hearing that two countries or two cultures that are just so different in a way emerge into what you guys are doing and that it works. It's just like, for me, just very heartwarming that despite all the obstacles, it will work. And in the end, yes, you have your roots. Yes, it's important to cherish those. Yes, you have your values, you have your boundaries, but you can make it work if you work together. And thank you so, so much again for sharing your love story, for talking to me today early in the morning. I really appreciate it. And yeah, there's just one last question I have before we end the conversation. Your story, the past few years, everything you've built together, everything you've been through, you, Karina, moving abroad, what is the biggest advice you would like to share with everyone who's listening and or watching right now?
Okay. Yeah. You want me to answer the question on your behalf?
You can each of you one advice.
Okay. Should I start? Okay, so from advice point of view, I would say everybody who's looking or listening. So I think you should really take ownership in your life, be it about career. Obviously, right now we are especially talking about this relationship or marriages. So let's talk about that. But whatever you do in life, whatever decision you take, you should take ownership of your life because your life is actually in your hands. Your happiness, your sorrow, the decisions that you take today, they make or break you in the future, right? So firstly, it's you who decide about what you want, what you don't want, and then you definitely consult the people you trust around you, be it your parents, grandparents, relatives, friends. But firstly, it should be your gut call, gut feeling, what it says to you, what is your calling, what is your purpose in life. So define your purpose first, then refine and polish it with your loved ones because they actually care about you and they know, sometimes they know a perspective of you which you might not be able to see. So it's very important to take both of these things in parallel to reach a good, sound, solid decision about anything in life that can long last and that can give you a long lasting happiness as well. So yeah, it's just like taking ownership and taking good decisions and being confident, not being scared of taking bold decisions. When I told some of my friends about the decision, even though I was not supposed to do anything big, actually all the main compromise was hers, but even then my friends said that, oh my god, like it's such a big thing you are doing, you're doing such a unique and difficult thing out there. So you should not be scared. Life gives you these moments where you can actually, take these big bold steps. But yeah, you should show some courage in the face of life and take good decisions. And yeah, so that's my biggest advice to all the people who are struggling or they are doubting in their heads that should they take that step, should they not take their step. And yeah, and all of this what I'm telling you right now is coming from my experience of skydiving, because when you jump out of the plane and when you see your death right in front of your eyes, so then the biggest lesson it teaches you is that all the beautiful things in life are on the other side of your maximum fear. So this is something I heard, I learned myself, and I'm experiencing. And so yeah, that is where the courage comes from. So be brave and be happy. That's all. Karina might want to share her piece of
I
advice.
think I would be less, what do we say it? I would say less about it. I would be more simple. It's just that whoever is watching us, and there might be people who are also doubting that should we take this step, or maybe it's not worth all the struggle which we're going to face. I would just say that if you're sure about the person, if you're sure about your love to each other, then obviously you should go for it. There will be difficulties coming, and it's just that we have to face it. No matter where you go, you will face it, and it's just like that. I would say that go for your love and your dreams.
So as long as you have the right company, you should not worry about the route.
He has the right company, so
I love that. As
That's
long
true.
as you have the right company, you shouldn't worry about your route. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
that
sign.
could be a punch or tagline of the talk.
Yes, this is my punchline right now because I think that's just lovely and yeah, the perfect ending to this episode. Again, thank you so so much and wishing
thank you
you all
so
the
much.
best. Please take care and I can't
Thank you
wait to
so
see
much.
what's next for you.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so, so much for watching and or for listening to today's podcast episode. As always, you will find their contact details in the side note as well as in the description of the video. If you like what I'm doing, please don't forget to rate the podcast wherever you're listening to it. Subscribe on YouTube And if you're not following me yet, you will find many more stories on International Love Story on Instagram, where I also share some insights about our life here in Buenos Aires, me as an expat again. Please take care and besitos. Bye!